Today's concept, what I would like to discuss, is creating a business plan. In every single success story, there is a business plan. As a matter of fact, if you were to build a house, you just wouldn't start it by buying furniture or deciding what kind of windows or the way the roof would be slanted. The first thing that you would do is you have an idea of how the house is going to be built. And in this case, you would get a piece of land and you would decide in a conscientious manner with a partner or possibly with family members how you would like this house to look like, where you would like it to be, how big you would like it to be, to what fashion you would like it to design it. And so that business plan itself is where you would get a structure which would be designed most likely at the beginning by an architect who would meet also with engineers, and they would decide on the development of your house. Once this is put into a place and all of the development, all of the protocols, all of the systems, step by step, would be designed, you will now have a better idea of what the plan looks like. So that's what this is. And I congratulate you for accepting the invitation to do that. Basically, to have more and to be more in your life, you have to start setting up plans, and the plan itself always has to be towards success. Interestingly enough, the Bible says, if you search, you will find. And that's the truth. That's absolutely the truth. So this is for the seekers. This is for the people who want to find a way to better and greater open up their lives. And this is an offer to choose and partake in the process of how to make your life better. Now, what you want to do is find out what you can do with what you have at this point. The soil, the seed, the sunshine, the rain, the miracle of the possibilities, the things that are given to you, everything that you've got. And whether you're a professional or you're working in a company or you're developing some new concept, you have to have a plan. The plan itself is something that will help you across the board. And this is about the equities of your treasures, about family relationships, about the enterprises that you're going to develop, about the gifts that you were given, everything that you would want, need to have a plan. It's interesting. If you look at the Bible itself, even God decides in the very first chapters, in the very first few verses, describes clearly on how the world was created on day 1 and day 2 and day 3. Now, obviously, there was a plan there. Now, we don't know what God's plan is, but we know for sure that in 6 days He created the world according to the Bible, and therefore there was a plan which was developed slowly but surely. So let's talk about the plan itself and how beneficial it's going to be to you. The results are only as good as the plan. You have to remember that. Results are only as good as the plan. If the plan is good, this is something that you will benefit for many times and for many years to come. It's not what happens that determines the major part of your future, because what happens to everybody. Instead, however, the key is what you do about it. It's what you do about what happens that you're going to make a difference about this. All of us go through challenges. We go through difficulties. We go through obstacles. And of course, the motto is, it will pass. Everything shall pass. But what is your plan? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? What is it that you're trying to do? And this is the development of that plan that you need to understand. The process of change is developing a plan. If you want things to be better, if you want things to be greater this year than it was the previous year, if you want things to be better this week than it was last week, then all the efforts have to start by setting up a plan. And what you will see is this. There is actually a concept called a miracle process. And what that means is that all of the things that you make as a change, these step by step, the changes of yourself, the changes of everything around you, these will make a difference and will show you the comparisons between where you were yesterday and where you could be tomorrow. And the difference between success and failure is actually subtle. For many people, they don't pay attention to that. But now, what is failure and what is success? Let me give you some definition which I heard once, and I think they are brilliant, but at the same time, this is something that we want to use. Failure, it says, is a few error in judgment repeated every day. And what that means is that if you don't pay attention to what you're doing, if you don't pay attention to where you are, and you say, well, I've done this before and it's never worked, and I've tried this, but it's not been successful. Those errors in judgment, and you repeat them every day, that becomes a definition for failure. Knowing that this has been done in the past and you have not succeeded, and being stuck in a rut and saying, this will be always the same thing, nothing ever changes. The negativity that pounds and pounds on your mind, holding you back from making that change, from having the plan, for developing a dream, a miracle, a process, a development, a protocol, a system. All of that is part of your failure. It's not what did yesterday that worked or didn't work that matters to you. What you need to do as of today, since you are listening to this podcast, this is an invitation for you to partake of the process of change, of accepting the new rule and saying, I will no longer make those errors in judgment. Now, listen to this carefully. It does not mean that because you make a plan, you're not going to make more errors. You will make errors. There will be mistakes. But from those mistakes, we will grow. It's not what happens that matters. Happens to everybody. What happens all the time happens to everyone. Not just you, not just me. The whole world goes through this. It's what you're going to do about it. And some people will persevere and they'll try their best to make it better, greater, stronger. They'll change it, they'll tweak it. And hundreds of times they'll try it over and over and over again. It's interesting. I read the other day that McDonald's, the large conglomerate, worldwide restaurant owners of McDonald's, didn't succeed at first. And not only that, he was in late 50s before he started making any money. Quite interesting. Late 50s, that's early 60s, before he started making any money. So I know we hear today about, well, these young people that can make more money when they're 20s and how long will it take? Don't worry about your age. Don't worry about your position. Don't worry about what you have right now or what you don't have. Make the decision to make that change and realize that if you've made errors in judgment, from now on, you will stop. You will no longer have to make these errors, and that's what things will change. Now, on the other hand, what is the definition of success? If failure is errors in judgment repeated every day, what is the definition of success? Well, it's just the opposite of that. It's a few simple disciplines practiced every day. If you've made an error and you've repeated them every day, now in success is you've literally concentrated and focused on a few disciplines and you practice them every day. That's a few disciplines. And people will say, well, I don't already know whether I'm going to be able to keep up with this. Don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about today. Set up the discipline today that you want to follow. Set up the things that you need to do. Whether you're trying to lose weight, make more money, grow your business, have a better relationship with your family, have a better relationship with yourself, become healthier, whatever it is, you set up the plan and realize that discipline is the key to the bottom part, the key to the basis, the key to the understanding. Listen to my other podcast. I've already spoken about that, about the 5 steps of discipline. You'll want to listen to that carefully. And if you need to, go back to it and listen to it again of how and why the importance of having discipline in your life. Now, the fact is, when you look at successful people, what happens? You'll always discover that they have a plan and that plan was behind their success. No one has ever succeeded on their own. Even the person who bought a ticket, let's say from the lottery, even that person had a plan. Here was his plan. I'm going to drive down to the store. I'm going to take $1 or a couple dollars out of my pocket, and I'm going to buy the ticket. The person who bought the ticket and won had a plan, and that was to win. Now, it doesn't guarantee that he's going to win. But one thing is for sure, if you don't buy the ticket, you'll never win. Never. But if you buy the ticket, you have a chance, be it a small chance, but you'll have a chance to win. So that person had a plan, and that plan was to buy the ticket so that he could win. And if you win, which I do hope for you, and you win now, and that winning brings you what you want, you'll now be able to design a bigger plan. So the very first step is to make that step. The very beginning of success is to take that step. And that's what you're doing right now by listening to this podcast. That's what you're doing. And that's the success behind every single person in every single plan, and that is that the plan itself preceded the success for everyone. And that's what changed their lives and all these people, whether on conscious level or to develop that plan or less conscious level. The next thing is, when you have a plan, of course, is to need to develop that plan, is you have to have an attitude towards it, toward the learning. Something that'll drive you with the diligence and the strength and the power and the focus that this path is good for you. Many people ask the question, well, how do I develop my plan? How do I know what my plan should be? What should I do by my own plan? The plan itself is what you want it to be that is right for you. No one can tell you what the plan is, and no one can explain to you what a better plan is. What you need to do is, you need to challenge yourself, and you have to be sincere. You have to be committed. You have to take your philosophy, set your sail, and develop your own plan. No one can develop a plan that will be great for you. Only you can do that. Develop the plan itself that is right for you, that fits you. The plan that you develop is unique, and it's just for you. And you don't have to be intricate. If you want to, you can, but you don't need to. The plan at first is to set general goals and then focus on just what you want to do. Don't tell yourself that you have to spend a certain amount of hours every single day, and I'm going to read these books, and I'm going to listen to the CDs, and I'm going to take this journal, and the plan will be too complex, and then you'll never follow through. Be honest with yourself. Know your limitations, accept them, and work through them. If you are, by nature, what they call a morning person, then don't try to take your plan at night. If you are a night person, don't try to make this your morning plan. Accept where you are today and work with those, quote, limitations. Meaning that there are limitations today, but tomorrow you can change them and they can become your allies to help you overcome those limitations, these obstacles. And establish time for you to start working on the material. For instance, every single morning, step by step, you might want to do something that you'll need to keep together. How will you do that? First and foremost, you'll need to keep notes. Keep a journal of what's going on and keep track of what you're doing. You don't want to trust anything to your memory. You want to write all down, things that you want to do. In these years, especially with the recording that exists today in between the phones and the smartphones and all of the digital concept that exists, you can do plenty of things. Take notes on the ideas that will impact you the most and things that you want, things that you're serious about becoming powerful or healthy or influential or wealthy. Whatever you want to do, make sure that you take notes of that. And even though you could listen to something with somebody else, you will understand that portion of what you heard in one way. Somebody else will listen and get a completely different idea. So take your own notes of what you want. Second concept, besides keeping your notes, is to reflect on what you're writing. Make sure that you do this, and it's a good idea to have a time to do that. So at the end of each day, you should realize what you've done on that day. At the end of each week, you should review what you've done on that week. At the end of each month, you should do the same thing. And then you should do it also every couple of months and then once a year. What that means is that every single day you need to review whether or not your plan is working, whether or not your plan is going in the right direction, whether or not the goals that you've set for yourself, the concepts that you've developed, the things that you want to accomplish on the plan itself is working. Think of the architect. And now the contractor comes in and they start, laying down the concrete and everything else so that the ground could be established and formatted, constructed, built, and now they start building the walls. The architect comes back on a regular basis and he checks, are things done properly? Are the plans, structures, and the plans details followed? Because if they're not, guess what? The permit is not going to be issued and there will be some issue later on, or God forbid, the structure is not going to hold. So it's important to review that. I want you to know that every single day at the end of the day, in my prayer book, which I pray every single night before going to sleep, I do my prayers, and at the end of the prayers, I have a little card, a little laminated card, and it said these two things. It says, have you done everything you could have done? And could you have done more? Those two things. And I read it to myself. Have I done everything I could have done today? And the next line, could I have done more? I learned this from a great mentor, and to me, this is something which reminds me every single day that whatever happened on that day could be better. And could I have done more? And if so, I don't regret it. To the contrary, I take that concept and say, I'll do more tomorrow. And tomorrow will be a brand new day. My life, my soul, my body will be regenerated, reinvigorated, and I will feel much better about it, and I'll do it. Not regretting of what happened today and messing up or things that went wrong, and it doesn't matter. You don't look at the past. You use the past as an experience to make your future better or to change the present to get into a better future. But you don't regret it. You just look at it and say, okay, that happened. And it's over. Now, I'm not saying you don't have remorse on the things that you've done. If you've done something wrong, of course, you need to admit it. And if you've made a mistake and you keep on doing those mistakes, you need to say to yourself, is this the direction I want to go? How long will I go with this? What do I need to go in the direction that I need to go? And is this something that I need to keep on carrying? And if the answer is no, then make the change. Make the changes. Admit to yourself, this is not what you want to do. It's not the life that you want. The next part in here is to setting goals. You have to set goals because the goals themselves are the plan and the roadmap that you will use in order to achieve your own success. You can change your life for the better, and most likely you'll learn how to quickly set goals once you realize where you want to go and what you're trying to do. You'll want to define your future, your dreams. You'll set goals because the greatest influence on your person's future and the greatest force that will pull you through are the goals. The goals are like a magnet. They pull you towards that direction and get you exactly to where you want to be. The goals are the ones that will show you what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. Now, don't set goals that are too high or goals that are too low. I'm going to be speaking about this in other podcasts, but initially, you know that the goals themselves should be reasonable. They should be progressive. They should be within a certain period of time, but they should be reasonable. If you set goals that are too high, you'll never make it. A person who wants to try to lose weight and says, I want to lose 50 pounds in the next 30 days. That's unreasonable. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's not going to last. But a person who says clearly, I want to lose weight and I want to lose perhaps a certain amount of pounds, let's say 3 pounds, 5 pounds, 6 pounds. And I want to do this in the next 2 to 3, 4, 5 weeks and accommodate that with my lifestyle and change my lifestyle, change my eating habit. Then it will make a difference. Things will be better. Next in setting goals, because the goals themselves are great to set, is you have to take the action. And that's probably the last point that I want to make in here. You have to act on your plan. You have to do it because this is what you're trying to do. They just work the plan only if the plan is put in place. It's interesting. There's a concept called the diminishing intent. I'll tell you what this is. It's quite interesting if you think about it. What happens is this. If you don't act on the plan, sometimes you get so excited about a concept, a process, or you're diligent about, wanting to grow, and you want to do it now, and then something stops you. Or you say, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow, starting tomorrow. Or you won't write it down and you'll push it, to another day or to another week, to another month. Guess what happened? The intent itself becomes weaker. And what you had that started strong, clear, powerful, it was there, and it was something that you were going to discipline yourself and change, starts diminishing. And it becomes weaker, and you don't put it in place. The key is to act. You can have a thought. You could say it using speech, but unless you act, the deed itself is what matters. The whole world was based on the act. Imagine if the creator of the world had thought about this world or talked about this world, but not created it. There would be nothing. Same thing with somebody who says, you know what? I'm going to create a beautiful family. And they thought in their mind, I'm going to have a beautiful spouse. I'm going to have a great home. I'm going to have a phenomenal and an unbelievable relationship. But they never act on it. They never say it. They never process it. So the thought is what's closer to your mind, but it's yours. The next step to the thought is the speech, and that is to articulate what you're trying to do. But really, the end result is the act itself. Don't worry about the mistakes. Don't worry about what could happen. Make sure that you do get it done. All right. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. Creating a business plan is very important. And I wish you the best, and God bless you in everything that you do.
If you like what you've heard, please let us know by leaving a comment below. We would really appreciate if you would be kind enough to like, share, and even subscribe. Feel free to follow us on Facebook.